The sky above Seoul turned red on a cold afternoon in November 2147. A loud crack echoed across the city, like thunder that never stopped. People stopped walking. Drivers stepped out of their cars. Everyone looked up. A long tear opened in the air, bright and glowing. From that tear came a huge shape, covered in red scales that shone like metal. It was a dragon, bigger than any airplane, with wings wide enough to cover a city street. The dragon fell fast, smoke trailing from its body. It hit the Han River with a crash that sent water high into the air. Waves rolled over the banks and soaked the roads. For a minute, everything was quiet. Then sirens started. Army helicopters flew in circles. News cameras pointed down from the sky. Millions of people watched on their phones and TVs. The dragon pulled itself out of the water slowly. Its wings were torn. Blood dripped from cuts on its sides. It walked onto the muddy shore near Uido, legs shaking but still strong. Water ran off its scales in rivers. A soldier with a megaphone shouted, "Stop! Do not move!" The dragon lifted its head. Its eyes were gold and tired. When it opened its mouth, fire flickered inside, but it did not breathe flame. Instead, it spoke. The voice was deep and calm, and it spoke perfect Korean. "My name is Yongsik," it said. "I come from far away. My world is gone. I seek asylum. I mean no harm." The soldiers looked at each other. No one knew what to do. A dragon that spoke Korean? It sounded like something from old stories, but this was real. News spread fast. The whole country talked about nothing else. Children asked their parents if dragons were real now. Old people remembered fairy tales about dragons that guarded mountains. The government acted quickly. They did not want panic. They sent a team of experts, scientists, doctors, language teachers, and officers. They built a large fence around the shore to keep people away. They gave the dragon food, whole cows and pigs at first, because no one knew what it ate. Yongsik thanked them politely and ate only some. He said he liked grilled meat better. Days passed. Yongsik answered questions. He told them his world had been beautiful once, with floating cities and libraries full of crystal books. A great war destroyed everything. He was the last guardian of knowledge. When the end came, he flew into a rift between worlds. He did not know where he would land. Earth was the only place the rift touched. He showed them small miracles. He breathed a gentle flame to light a fire without matches. He let doctors take one scale. It grew back in a week. The scale was harder than steel but light as plastic. Companies wanted to study it, but the government said no. Yongsik was a guest, not an experiment. The United Nations held meetings. Many countries wanted the dragon. America offered a big desert base. China offered mountains. But Yongsik had landed in South Korea. He liked the people here. They were kind. They brought him food even when soldiers told them not to. Old women left kimchi and rice cakes outside the fence. Children waved and shouted hello. Yongsik asked to stay. The Korean government said yes. They gave him temporary residency. Later, they made him a citizen, the first non-human citizen in history. They needed someone to take care of daily things for him. They chose a young man from the Ministry of Interior named Ji-ho. Ji-ho was 30 years old, quiet, and good at solving problems. He wore simple suits and always carried a notebook. On his first day, he walked to the riverside fence alone. Yongsik lowered his great head to look at him. "You are Ji-ho," the dragon said. "Yes, sir," Ji-ho answered, bowing a little. "I am here to help you." Yongsik gave a low rumble that sounded like a laugh. "Good. I am tired of sleeping on mud." They found a large empty warehouse in Incheon near the sea. Workers made it stronger with steel beams so the roof would not break under Yongsik's weight. They built a big door he could walk through. Inside, they made a soft bed from sand and special mats that would not burn. They added heaters for winter and big fans for summer. Ji-ho visited every day. He brought news, food, and questions from the government. Yongsik answered slowly and carefully. In return, he asked about Earth. He wanted to know simple things, how people cooked rice, what children learned in school, why so many people liked coffee. One evening, as the sun set over the water, Yongsik lay on his new bed and watched ships move in the harbor. "This world is strange," he said to Ji-ho. "Small, loud, crowded. But the people have good hearts. Ji-ho smiled. We are happy you are here. Young-sik closed his golden eyes. I am old, Ji-ho. Older than your mountains. I have seen stars die. But I think I can rest here for a while. Outside, the city lights came on. People still talk about the dragon. Some were afraid, but most were proud. Their small country had welcomed the first visitor from the stars. No one knew then how long Young-sik would stay, or what he would do next. They only knew that life in Korea had changed forever on the day the dragon fell from the sky. 10 years had passed since the day Young-sik fell from the sky. The world had changed a little, but the dragon had changed more. He no longer lived in the big warehouse alone. The government built a special park around it, with high walls and a large open space where he could stretch his wings. People could visit on weekends. Families came with picnic baskets. Children ran and laughed while Young-sik lay in the sun like a red mountain. He told them stories about stars and old worlds. His deep voice made everyone feel calm. In the city, Young-sik became famous in a quiet way. He appeared on television sometimes. He wore a large silver torp over his back like a coat when he went out. The torp had reflectors so cars could see him at night. He learned to walk slowly on main roads so traffic could move around him. People took photos, but they were polite. Old women still brought him food. They left trays of grilled pork and beef outside the gate. Young-sik always thanked them with a small puff of warm flame to heat their tea. Ji-ho was still his helper. He was 40 now. His hair had started to turn gray at the sides. He came every day with papers, news, and coffee. They sat together in the shade of Young-sik's wing. Ji-ho read the newspaper out loud. Young-sik listened and asked questions about human things. One spring day, Young-sik stood up slowly. His legs hurt more than before. The joints made a soft cracking sound when he moved. I am getting old, he said to Ji-ho. Ji-ho looked up from his phone. You are over 1,400 years old. That is already very old. Young-sik gave a low rumble. On my world, dragons live much longer. But this air is different. This gravity is heavy. My fire is not as strong as it was. Ji-ho noticed small things. Young-sik's scales looked dull in some places. Cuts from long ago healed slowly now. When winter came, the dragon stayed inside more. He breathed small flames to warm himself, but they were weak and short. One morning in early winter, Young-sik coughed. Smoke came out, but no fire. He tried again. Only a little orange spark showed. This is not good, he said quietly. Ji-ho worried. He called doctors who knew about animals. They came with big machines. They took pictures of Young-sik's bones and blood. The doctors said the dragon was healthy for his age, but age was catching up. Joints were stiff. The fire gland in his throat was tired. They suggested medicine and special food. Ji-ho filled out forms. South Korea had good health insurance for all citizens. Young-sik was citizen now. He should get help like everyone else. They went to a government office in Seoul. It was a big gray building with long lines. Ji-ho parked the special large van that carried Young-sik. The dragon walked in carefully. His head almost touched the ceiling. People in the waiting room stared, but no one was afraid. Many smiled and bowed. They sat at a desk with a young clerk named Eun-ji. She was 25, neat and serious. She wore glasses and typed fast. Name, she asked. Young-sik, the dragon answered. His voice filled the room. Eun-ji looked up and blinked. She had seen him on TV, but never this close. She tried to stay calm. Date of birth. Young-sik thought, I do not know the Earth year. On my world, it was a year of the Crimson Star, cycle 1412. Eun-ji wrote approximately 1,400 years ago. Species. Dragon. She typed it in. The computer made a small beep. Then a red message appeared on the screen. Eun-ji frowned. The system does not accept this age. It says maximum human life is 120 years. We use that to calculate insurance costs. Ji-ho leaned forward. But he is not human. He is a citizen. The law says all citizens get health insurance. Eun-ji called her boss. The boss called another boss. Soon, 5 people stood around the desk. They whispered and looked at forms. One man said, if we accept him, the insurance numbers break. How do we plan for someone who might live forever? Another woman said, he could use the system for thousands of years. The fund would lose money. Young-sik listened quietly. Smoke curled from his nose, but he stayed calm. Hours passed. People in the waiting room watched. Some took videos on their phones. Finally, the main boss came. She was older and kind but firm. I am sorry, she said to Young-sik. The computer system cannot handle your case today. We need new rules. Please come back later. Jiho argued politely. He showed papers that proved Young-sik paid taxes on gifts and book royalties. Young-sik had written a book about his old world. It sold well, but the boss shook her head. We must wait for a decision from higher up. Young-sik stood slowly. His tail brushed the floor. Thank you for your time, he said to Unji and the others. Then he turned and walked out. Outside, cold wind blew. Jiho walked beside him to the van. I am sorry, Jiho said. Young-sik looked at the city skyline. Tall buildings shone in the sun. I guarded kings and library for centuries, he said. I fought wars. I carried knowledge across stars. And now a small machine says no. Jiho did not know what to say. That night, back at the warehouse park, Young-sik lay on his bed of sand. Jiho sat nearby with tea. I will not beg, Young-sik said. I will find my own way. Jiho nodded. He knew the dragon's pride was strong. News spread the next day. TV showed the visit to the office. People talk about it online. Some said it was unfair. Others said the system was not ready for a dragon. Children drew pictures of Young-sik waiting in line. Winter came harder. Young-sik's joints hurt more. He flew less, but he did not complain. Jiho brought warm blankets and special oil for scales. Young-sik thanked him every time. Deep inside, the dragon began to think of old ways. Ways from his world. Ways to heal without human medicine. Ways to live with what he still had. His fire was weak, but it was still there. His mind was sharp. And time, he knew, was something he still had plenty of. Spring came early that year. Flowers opened along the paths in Young-sik's park. Visitors took more pictures than ever. The dragon lay in the sun and looked strong again, but Jiho knew the truth. The pain in the joints was still there. The fire in the throat was still weak. One quiet evening, after the last family left, Young-sik called Jiho close. I have decided, he said. I will not take help from the health insurance. I will not wait for new rules or special plans. A dragon must stand on his own. Jiho put down his coffee cup. But the doctors said you need medicine. Your body is changing in this world. Young-sik lifted his head high. Golden eyes shone in the sunset. I am old, but I am not finished. On my world, we had ways to heal without pills or machines. We use fire, air, food from the earth, and rest. I will go back to those ways. Jiho wanted to argue, but he saw the pride in the dragon's face. He only nodded. From that day, Young-sik changed his life. He stopped eating the easy food trucks brought, soft rice and cooked meat. Instead, he asked for raw iron bars, coal, and special rocks rich in minerals. Jiho ordered them from factories. Workers delivered big piles outside the gate. Young-sik ate slowly, chewing the hard metal like candy. His scales began to shine again. Every morning, before the sun rose high, Young-sik did fire exercises. He stood in the open space, took deep breaths, and blew small flames. At first, the fire was only a weak orange glow. Day after day, he tried harder. He held the flame longer. He made it hotter. The air around him became warm like summer. Birds flew away from the heat. He also made his own steam bath. He breathed fire onto a pile of rocks until they turned red. Then he poured water from a hose. Steam filled the warehouse. Young-sik lay in the hot cloud for hours. The steam opened his joints and made the pain smaller. Jiho watched and helped. He brought big water tanks and fans to clear the steam afterward. Sometimes he sat outside and waited. But Young-sik needed more than old dragon ways. Food and fire helped the body, but life on Earth cost money. The government gave him a small home and guards, but medicine, special food, and repairs to the warehouse were expensive. His book money was not enough anymore. One night, rain fell hard on the roof. Young-sik could not sleep. His wings hurt. He looked at Jiho's computer on the table. The screen showed news about old people and pensions. Tell me about this Social Security money, Young-sik said. Jiho explained. In Korea, people work and pay into a fund. When they become old, the fund pays them every month. It helps them live without work. Young-sik listened carefully. And if someone dies, what happens to their money? Jiho said, sometimes it stays in the fund. If no family claims it, it is not paid out. The dragon's eyes narrowed. So there is money that belongs to no one. Jiho felt nervous. Yes, but it is complicated. The government keeps records. Young-sik asked more questions. He wanted to know about bank accounts, identity numbers, and old records. His mind was sharp, even if his body was slow. Over weeks, Young-sik studied. Jiho brought books and printed papers. The dragon read slowly with one claw on the page. He learned how the system worked. Names, dates, addresses, small rules that most people never noticed. One day, he said to Jiho, I will not steal. That is not the dragon way. But I will use what is already forgotten. There are small amounts of money left behind by people who pass away long ago. No one claims them. I can make them useful again in a legal way. Jiho did not like the idea at first. It sounds dangerous. If someone finds out, they will say you broke the law. Young-sik shook his great head. I will follow every rule. I will fill every form. I will wait every required day. But I will find the paths that humans do not see. They started small. Young-sik found old lists of unclaimed money on government websites. He asked Jiho to help type applications. They used Young-sik's citizen number and address. They claimed tiny amounts, money from people who died without family 50 or 60 years ago. At first, nothing happened. Weeks passed. Then one letter came. A small payment arrived in a new bank account Jiho opened for the dragon. It was only enough for 1 month of coal, but it was a start. Young-sik smiled. Smoke rings rose from his nose. They kept going. Young-sik remembered numbers and dates better than any human. He saw patterns in the records. He found more forgotten funds, old pension accounts, small insurance payments, rural benefits never collected. Every time, they did everything correctly. Forms were perfect. Signatures were clear. Waiting periods were followed. No rule was broken. Money grew slowly. Not a river, but a steady stream. Enough to buy good food, repair the roof, pay for hot rocks and iron. Young-sik's body grew stronger too. His fire became bright again. One morning, he flew a short circle above the park. Children below cheered and waved. Jiho stood on the ground and smiled, even though he worried in secret. News about the dragon spread in quiet ways. Old people in cafes talked about how Young-sik lived without government health help. Young workers online shared stories of the dragon who fixed his own problems. No one knew about the money paths yet. It was still a secret between dragon and friend. Summer came. Young-sik lay in the sun and felt warm inside and out. His joints moved easier. His scales shone red and bright. Jiho brought cold tea one afternoon. You look good, Jiho said. I feel good, Young-sik answered. Fire breath and careful planning. That is enough for now. Jiho sat beside the great wing. People say you are a symbol of strength. Young-sik gave a low laugh. I am only an old dragon who does not want to beg. Far away, in government offices, computers recorded small payments moving to an address in Incheon. No one noticed yet. The amounts were too tiny. The paperwork was too perfect. But Young-sik knew time would bring eyes. He was ready. He had pride, fire, and now a quiet river of money no one missed. He closed his eyes and rested, strong again, on his own terms. 5 more years passed quietly in the park near Incheon. Young-sik's red scales caught the morning light like polished metal. His fire burned strong and steady again. Children still came on weekends to hear his stories. Old visitors brought grilled meat and fruit. The dragon looked healthy. No one guessed how he paid for the coal piles, the iron bars, or the new steel roof over his warehouse. Jiho came every day as always. His hair was more gray now, but his steps were quick. He carried a tablet full of news and bank statements. The quiet stream of money still flowed into Young-sik's account. Small payments arrived each month from old, forgotten funds. Every form was perfect. Every rule was followed. No one had noticed yet. One autumn morning, a young man arrived at the park gate. He wore a neat suit and carried a thick folder. His name was Minitsu. He worked for the National Pension Service as an auditor. His job was to check numbers and find mistakes. Minitsu had been looking at reports for months. He saw tiny payments moving to one address in Incheon. The amounts were small, but they added up over time. The name on the accounts was unusual. Yongsik, no family name. Species listed as dragon. Minitsu thought it was a joke at first. Then he checked deeper. The paperwork was real. Everything matched. He asked his boss for permission to visit. The boss agreed. Mistakes could be big or small, but they had to be checked. Minitsu walked through the gate with 2 helpers. Guards led them across the open grass. Yongsik lay in the sun, wings half open like red sails. He lifted his head when he saw the visitors. Ji-ho stood quickly from his chair. "Can I help you?" Minitsu bowed politely. "My name is Minitsu. I am from the pension office. I need to speak with Yongsik about some payments." Yongsik lowered his great head until his eyes were level with the young man. Warm air blew from his nose. "You have come about the money," the dragon said calmly. Minitsu nodded. He opened his folder and showed printouts. These payments started 5 years ago. They come from old accounts that were never claimed. The total is not huge, but it is regular. Ji-ho stepped forward. "Everything is legal. All forms were filed correctly." Minitsu looked at the papers again. "That is why I am here. The forms are perfect. Too perfect. Most people make small mistakes. These have none." Yongsik gave a low rumble that sounded like a soft laugh. "Come inside. We will talk over tea." They walked into the warehouse. Yongsik breathed a gentle flame onto a metal pot. Water boiled fast. Ji-ho poured green tea into cups. Minitsu and his helpers sat on strong benches built for the dragon's weight. Minitsu asked questions for a long time. He wanted to know how Yongsik found the old accounts, how he knew which forms to use, how he weighted the exact number of days required. Yongsik answered slowly and clearly. He explained that he studied public records. He read every rule. He used only money that no family had claimed for decades. No living person lost anything. Minitsu checked dates and numbers on his tablet. Everything matched. There were no lies. After 2 hours, Minitsu closed his folder. "I cannot find any mistake. The money is legally yours now." One helper whispered, "He is smarter than our best lawyers." Yongsik poured more tea with careful breaths of warm air to keep it hot. "You did your job well," the dragon said to Minitsu. "Honest work deserves respect." Minitsu felt surprised. He expected anger or hiding. Instead, he found calm pride. Before they left, Yongsik asked, "Do you like books?" Minitsu nodded. "Yes, very much." "Then come back anytime. Not for work, for stories." Minitsu bowed and left with his team. On the drive back to Seoul, he thought about the dragon. He had never met anyone so careful and so strong at the same time. Word reached the pension office. Managers read Minitsu's report. They saw perfect paperwork and legal claims. They decided to leave it alone. The amounts were small. No one was hurt. But Minitsu could not forget. He returned to the park a week later. This time alone, without a folder. He brought a box of sweet rice cakes. Yongsik welcomed him. They sat in the shade. Minitsu asked about the old world. Yongsik told stories of flying libraries and crystal books that sang when opened. Week after week, Minitsu came back. He listened and learned. Soon he brought his own questions about Earth systems, banks, taxes, insurance. Yongsik explained how he saw patterns in rules, like wind currents in the sky. "You do not break the rules," Yongsik said one day. "You ride them. You find the quiet paths no one uses." Minitsu started to understand. He saw ways to help real people, old widows who missed small benefits, families who did not know about forgotten money. One winter afternoon, Unji arrived at the gate. She was the clerk from the insurance office years ago. She carried a large bag that smelled of grilled pork belly. Ji-ho recognized her. "You came a long way." Unji bowed, face red from cold and shyness. "I heard the dragon is well. I wanted to say sorry for that day long ago." Yongsik walked out slowly. His steps made soft thumps on the ground. "You did your job," he said kindly. "No need for sorry." Unji opened the bag and set out food on a low table. Steam rose in the cold air. They ate together, Yongsik with careful bites, humans with chopsticks. Unji laughed when Yongsik warmed her tea with a small flame. "I never forgot that day in the office. Everyone talked about it for months." "Now they talk about something else," Jiho said with a smile. News spread in small circles. Government workers whispered about the dragon who mastered the system without breaking it. Young auditors studied Minute's report like a lesson. Yongsik's life stayed quiet. Money flowed enough for his needs. His body stayed strong with fire exercises and good food. Visitors came and went. Minutsu became a regular friend. He sat for hours, learning and sharing. One spring evening, cherry blossoms fell like pink snow. Yongsik watched them drift. "I came to this world with nothing," he said to Jiho and Minutsu. "Now I have food, a home, and friends. All because I chose my own path." Minutsu smiled. "You taught us something important." Yongsik closed his golden eyes. Warm wind blew from his breath, carrying blossom scent across the park. The discovery had come, but it changed nothing. The dragon was still free, still proud, still living on his own terms. The year 2170 arrived with soft spring rain over Incheon. Cherry blossoms drifted across the park paths and stuck to Yongsik's red scales like pink snow. The dragon lay in his usual place, wings half spread to catch the warm sun that followed the rain. He looked strong and calm. His golden eyes watched the world with quiet pride. 23 years had passed since he fell from the rift. The world had grown used to him. School children learned about the dragon in history books. Tourists came from many countries to see him. News programs still called him Korea's dragon, and people smiled when they said it. Jiho was 60 now. His hair was fully gray, and he walked slower, but he still came every day. He brought tea and newspapers. Minutsu came often too. He was 35 and had become an important teacher in the pension office. He taught young workers how to find forgotten money for real families who needed it. He always said he learned the best lessons from a dragon. The quiet money stream still flowed into Yongsik's account. It was enough for coal, iron, roof repairs, and small gifts he gave to children. No one tried to stop it anymore. The government had studied everything twice and decided it was legal and fair. One warm afternoon, a small crowd gathered outside the park gate. Reporters stood with cameras. Students held signs that said, "Thank you, Yongsik," in Korean and English. A government official in a dark suit walked through the gate with a microphone. Jiho met him. "What is happening?" The official smiled. "We want to give the dragon an honor. Nothing big, just a short speech and a plaque." Jiho went to tell Yongsik. The dragon lifted his head. "An honor for what?" he asked. "For showing self-reliance," Jiho said. "For living well without asking for special help. People admire that." Yongsik thought for a long time. Smoke curled slowly from his nose. "I will speak," he said at last, but only a few words. The gate opened. The crowd came in quietly. Children sat on the grass. Old people stood at the back. Cameras pointed at the dragon. Yongsik stood slowly. His legs were strong again from years of fire exercises and good food. He walked to the center of the open space. The ground shook a little with each step. The official gave a short speech. He thanked Yongsik for sharing knowledge, for being a good citizen, and for teaching everyone about pride and careful planning. Then it was the dragon's turn. Yongsik looked over the crowd. His deep voice carried easily, like warm wind. "I came to your world with nothing," he began. "I fell from the sky, hurt and alone. My home was gone. My people were gone. You gave me a place to rest. You gave me food and kindness. For that, I thank you every day." People listened without moving. "You offered help when I grew old. I said no, not because I was angry, but because a dragon must fly on his own wings, even when those wings ache. I chose fire breath, old ways, and careful study of your rules to stay strong." He paused. A small breeze moved the cherry blossoms. "I learned that your greatest magic is not in machines or medicine. It is in your rules, many, complicated, human rules. If you read them with care and respect, they can carry even a tired old dragon a little further." Soft laughter rippled through the crowd. Everyone understood. I am still here, Yongsik continued. My fire burns. My heart is warm. I have friends. He looked at Jiho and Minitsu. I have stories to tell children. I have peace. He breathed out slowly. A perfect ring of smoke rose into the blue sky and drifted over the park. That is enough. The crowd clapped and cheered. Children ran forward with flowers. Yongsik lowered his head so they could place the flowers on his scales. Cameras flashed. Reporters wrote fast. The official gave him a simple plaque. It was metal with words carved deep. To Yongsik, guardian of knowledge, master of self-reliance. Yongsik thanked him politely. After the people left, the park became quiet again. Jiho and Minitsu sat with a dragon under his wing. You spoke well, Jiho said. Minitsu nodded. Students will study your words for years. Yongsik looked at the plaque in his claw. It is heavy, he said, but good heavy. Evening came. The sun painted the sky orange and red, the same colors as the dragon's scales. Ships moved slowly in the harbor. City light began to shine. Jiho poured tea. Minitsu opened a box of sweet cakes. They sat together without talking much. Friends do not always need words. Later, when the stars came out, Yongsik lay back on his sand bed. His breathing was slow and deep. I have lived long, he said softly. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have seen stars die. But these years here, with you, with this small, busy world, these are good years. Jiho smiled in the dark. We are glad you stayed. Minitsu added, You change us. We think about rules differently now. We help more people because of you. Yongsik closed his golden eyes. Then it was worth the fall from the sky. Years later, long after that day, people still talked about the dragon who rejected Medicare and lived well anyway. University classes studied Yongsik optimization, the art of using rules fairly to help the overlooked. Young auditors practiced finding forgotten money for poor families. Children drew pictures of a red dragon breathing smoke rings under cherry trees. The plaque hung inside the warehouse where everyone could see it. Flowers were placed under it every spring. Yongsik stayed in his park. His fire stayed bright. His body stayed strong with daily exercises and simple food. Money came quietly each month, enough and no more. He told stories to new children every weekend. He listened to Jiho read the news every evening. He taught Minitsu and other visitors how to see hidden paths in complicated systems. And when asked if he ever regretted saying no to government help, he always gave the same answer. A dragon must fly on his own wings, he would say, even when they are old, even when the wind is cold. Then he would breathe a gentle flame to warm the tea, and everyone would smile. The rift in the sky never opened again. Yongsik was the only dragon on Earth. But he was not alone. He had fire breath. He had ancient wisdom. He had careful mastery of human rules. And most of all, he had friends. That, he decided every night as he watched the stars, was the greatest treasure any dragon could carry.